If you wanted to buy Canadian stocks, how would you go about picking your portfolio? Well, we asked 3 investment pros for their investing ideas. Coming up in this week's Market Moves, we'll share with you 9 stocks they like, from star performers to the underappreciated, even small caps. So hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Well, the Canadian stock market has been trading at all-time highs, but that doesn't mean you've missed out on the opportunities, according to 3 market pros who we spoke to. Let's start with some standout names over the long term. Money manager Julian Klymochko of Accelerate shared his Team Canada ideas in tech. That would include Constellation Software, a highly profitable acquirer of software businesses; in insurance, Fairfax Financial, which is often described as Canada's version of Berkshire Hathaway; and in retail, a well-known dollar store operator in Dollarama. Now, for those in search of less appreciated names that haven't had the same kind of performance, we spoke to Grant White. He's a portfolio manager at IA Private Wealth, and he singled out companies like Cogeco, the cable and wireless operator, which he says delivers on things like free cash flow and could offer some long-term value. He also singled out Gildan Activewear. This is the clothing maker, which he says went through some boardroom drama, but at the end of the day, for patient investors, could pay off and has been a steady Eddie cash generator. And finally, he singled out PrairieSky Royalty. This is an oil and gas royalty player, and when he looks at that company, measuring the balance sheet and the dividend payments and the stock buyback plan, he thinks that's a solid investment over the long term. And finally, what about small cap stocks? Well, we spoke to portfolio manager Sajan Bedi of Canoe Financial, who singled out names like Definity Financial. Definity Financial is one of the larger P&C, property and casualty insurers in Canada, so things like auto and property. And in his opinion, it has some recession-resistant characteristics. He also singled out Savaria. This is a company that makes things like home elevators and wheelchair lifts, and he sees it as a solid margin business that is also leaning in to the demographics of an aging population. And finally, he's also leaning into burgers, citing a company like A&W, which, despite having sizable market share in Canada, when you look at the valuation, it trades, according to Bedi, at a lower valuation than a lot of the quick service restaurant chains in North America, offering some opportunity. All right, those are some Canadian stocks that money managers think could be profitable picks for your portfolio. And a reminder, if you're looking for some broader exposure to the Canadian investing landscape, check out the Best of Canada ETF suite that Global X offers, everything from energy and telecom to groceries and insurance. You can find out more details on the Global X website. Plus, speaking of Canada, I'll be fielding your questions on the Canadian market live right here on YouTube and on Reddit on July 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can RSVP now. We've included a link in the description, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. That does it for this week's Market Moves. See you next time.